Welcome home. This is the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. Come right this way, have a seat with me today in the corner booth celebrating our 86th week. Sweeney cleared the floor, Katie barred the door, Molly put on another pot of Irish coffee. It's time we get this show on the road. We've got another full house today, not a chair to spare. I'm Mike OLaughlin, your host. You can reach me on my webpage at irishroots.com anytime, and check out the written show notes on my blog at irishroots.com, and search all of our books, videos, and podcasts for free. Phone 816-256-3360 and leave your comments on my recorder. Try it, you'll like it. Among today's topics, Connor is the family name of the day, County Tipperary is the book of the month, the Beatles family's ties to Ireland, normal light bulbs are being banned in Ireland, searching for Connor, Conry, Conroy, Casey, Bain, and Meade, Houlihans' mummified arm, and North County Tipperary Web page. Hey, that reminds me, you can get all three of my free broadcasts online. And, of course, we've got two different versions of this one, just the regular old audio Irish Families broadcast and the Irish Families Worldwide enhanced version, which gives you pictures and links that go along with it. But to do that one, we'll be talking about that in a minute. You need QuickTime. We also have the Irish in America podcast, which we have to start our second season here pretty soon, and the Irish Song and Recitation Festival broadcast, which we're starting to tape right now. So if you've got any songs or recitations, be sure to call them in. We can either do an interview by phone or you can leave your message on my recorder. Well, let's take a look at the notes this week. I just mentioned if you're having any trouble trying to get the enhanced version of this podcast, the one that comes along with pictures, to get our new photo enhanced version, you have to use QuickTime. This is what the intelligent computer people tell me, so I'm just passing it on to you. Otherwise, if you can't use QuickTime, it sounds like you have to use our regular audio version, which most people still use, which is just a regular old MP3 version. Number two, the financial crisis has reached Ireland just like it has the U.S. and just about everywhere else in the world, and Ireland has had to take action in that country as well. So we wonder, we've got some friends going over to Ireland real quick here, and they're wondering, what will the prices be like? Will they be going down? We had one in-person report saying that they sure are, but we'll see. Well, let's move on now to the books of the month. Well, County Tipperary Genealogy and Family History Notes is the first book we're going to pick. That's part of my 34-volume set on Irish families, and it's made to help the beginner out and give them an overview of records and resources and names and spellings, that type of thing. And we can take a look in that book, and it gives us the names from the birth index tied to County Tipperary. And what are those names? Well, those names recorded around 1890 were Ryan, Marr, O'Brien, Kennedy, Dwyer, Hogan, Hayes, Gleason, McGraw, Walsh, Kelly, and Lonergan. Now, if we go on and we want to go a little bit further back into history, we'll check the written records. County Tipperary Families on the Four Masters map. That's the map that's in the Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters that we published in 2003. Big old folded map that comes out of the end of Volume 2. And there's just a whole slew of families here, I'm telling you, compared to most. I think this is higher than average, all the way from Burke and Butler and Cantwell and Guilfoyle and, O'Briens and O'Day and Hurley and Keane and Kearney and Lonergan and Linehan. Mackey, Malkini, Marr, hey, Marr, okay. Quinlan, Quinlevin, Ryan, Sexton, Shanahan, Shea, Slattery, Spillane, Sullivan, Purcell, Walsh, and White. That's just a few of the selection. You'll have to check out my blog. I listed all those names right there on the blog if you're interested in that. That's it for the Four Masters extract for the day. Let's take a look. Book number 2, I picked this out. It just seemed curious. The Beatles in Ireland, and that's by Michael Lynch and Damian Smith. And we've got a link to that book on our webpage. It's also available at amazon.co.uk, and they will have a little bit more about that later too, but I thought that might be an interesting book for a lot of people. It actually talks about family history of the Beatles too that goes back to Ireland. What else? Let me see. Well, coming up later this episode, we're going to talk about Ireland and a little bit. And, first they banned cigarettes, which surprised a lot of people. And now they're banning light bulbs in Ireland, or certain kinds of light bulbs, the regular old light bulbs we use. We'll talk about that, give you a little more detail. And now it's time to raise our eyes skywards, give thanks, and ask for help. Here are today's Magnificent Seven. New member Jacqueline Bain of Toledo, Ohio, searching for Connor, Conry, Conroy, Casey, Bain, Glenn, Keene, Sweeney, and Loftus. Number 2, new member Kim Pinsky of Kenai, Alaska. And she says she's been told that there was a strong military background and several of her ancestors were knights. And says, I'm just trying to find out. The last name is Meade, M-E-A-D-E, as she spells it. Number 3, Douglas G. Cummins of Pensacola, Florida. Your Milesian Family's book has shipped. And Fraser Dixon of Devon in the United Kingdom. Your Milesian Family's has shipped. And Kathy Miller of Sandwich, Illinois. Your County Down Genealogy and Family History book has shipped. Susan Catalano of Greenwich, Connecticut, looking for Carolyn Dunn. Your County Meath Genealogy and Family History book has shipped as well. And let me see, L. Marshall Roach of Muncie, Indiana. Your County Roscommon Genealogy and Family book has shipped. Well, that's a good deal. Hey, I'd like to say thanks to all of our members because without you, these podcasts and the videos and the books, none of it would be possible. So a hearty thanks to all of you. You kept me going all these years. Now it's time to move on to the Irish family name of the day. Today's name's going to be Connor, and of course there's all kinds of spellings for that, and Connor and Conner are usually the most common ones I run into, and today's family name is going to be in honor of Jacqueline M. Bain of Toledo, Ohio, we mentioned earlier, and let's take a look. What are some of those related spellings of the name that we find in the Master Guide to the Spelling of Irish Family Names? That's, you can spell it with one N or two N's. And you could spell it Conier or Conyer. Just a couple of the samples. I got a few more on our blog if you're interested. And, of course, I think on on my Irish coat of arms and tartans video that I did a month or two ago, I talked about how the two O'Connors were arguing about which one had the right to spell the name which way, and one family could spell it their way and the other family spelled it the other way. And they wanted to know which was the royal spelling of the name, I think. And the chief herald had to tell them, he looked up both their ancestors, and they all spelled it all different ways. So don't get hung up on the spelling of that name now. It's the sound. You can spell it any way you like. Well, the related spellings we've talked about, if we take a look at a brief history of the name, I'll have more of it on a blog, and of course, the whole thing in the Book of Irish Families, Great and Small. But Connor, as you might expect, Connor and O'Connor, they're one of the most numerous names in Ireland. And part of the reason for that is that there's several branches or several families that aren't even related that took on the name of Connors when the names came into being. And probably the most famous are the ones that come from the province of Connaught. and they descend from a king of Connaught who died in the year 971. And from them, you've got the O'Connor Don, and from that came the last High Kings of Ireland. And they also had two branches of that family, the O'Connor Roe and the O'Connor Sligo family. Now, you also find coats of arms for several of these families, so I tell you what, you're not even sure what coat of arms you're supposed to use. You better do some research on your family, at least get a county so you can guess. O'Connor Fally and O'Connor Corcomroe are other families of the name. And there were also the O'Connors of Kerry, and they held a lot of land in the north of Kerry, and they were forced north with the coming of the Norman invasions, but they still held on there for a long time. And you might check out Carrigafoyle Castle. This was an old stronghold for the family. And, of course, the O'Connors of County Clare up around Corcomroe hail from the barony of Corcomroe, and they're descended from the same ancestors as the O'Laughlins of the Burren. And that would, of course, be my family, the O'Laughlins of the Burren, except my family changed that O in the name that most people use in Ireland. They changed OLO to OLA. But after a little bit of research, it became apparent that my grandfather wasn't too conscientious on that spelling of his name. When he went into the Army in World War I, he just let them spell it any way they want to, and that's what we ended up with. Now, though, the O'Connors up there, they met with their decline in the 16th century after a lot of trouble. And there's also a County Derry family of the name up in the north of Ireland in the region of Connaught. And they declined with the reign of the O'Kanes in that area sometime around the 12th century Norman invasion, so that goes way back for their decline. And you still have some of the name in that area today, however, so there may be a rising yet. Well, you have to remember no distinction can be made in the spelling of the name because they switch back and forth in history, and people write them down different, record them different, so keep your eyes open. And that goes for everybody out there. Mac and O can be dropped and the names can change. So keep your eyes open no matter what the spelling of that name is if you're researching your family history. Well, let's take a look. The Irish Book of Arms. Gosh, there's several listings. Let's just take 4. We don't have time for all of them today. But the Irish Book of Arms show arms for O'Connor of Rockfield in County Dublin, and O'Connor Morris of Mount Pleasant in Kings County, and O'Connor Hinchy of Moyvilla Castle in County Galway, and O'Connor of Rathmew in County Roscommon. Boy, they're all illustrated too. Got some pictures on there, some black and white sketches, sort of. And if we take a look, one last go for the O'Connors here, we take a look in that free master index of Irish names at irishroots.com, and boy, it comes up there 411 times. The spelling comes up, and we'll just pull a few examples at random. They're in almost every book. The O'Connors are. They're a prolific family for sure. But we find Mick Connor in the 1659 census, and in the families of Clare and Cork and so on. So that MC before the name can be found in earlier times quite a bit. O'Connor is also in my newest book, The Missouri Irish, Tribes, Customs, and Genealogies of the High Fiacra, a scholarly work indeed. They're in that book. And The Surnames of Ireland by Edward Nefsey. Edward's been on here several times, and he did some work that included the O'Connors. And in the Journal of the American Irish Historical Society, there's Lieutenant James O'Connor, who was noted as being assigned to Havana. So I wonder if you've got any O'Connor family down in Havana. And in that same journal, we find Captain Edward O'Connor was the first schoolmaster of Onondaga County, New York. Hey, and here's Baron O'Connell. He's found in the families of County Kerry, Ireland. That's part of my 34-volume set. That was the hardbound. That's the hardbound book on Kerry we have. So that wraps it up for Connor or O'Connor. Keep your eyes open out there. You've got a lot to choose from. Well, we're going to move now to the website of the week. And we've picked the North Tipperary Genealogy Center. You can click on the link on my blog, and that covers Tipperary North, as is probably obvious to you. They're up there in the governor's house, Kickham Street, Nenagh, County Tipperary. And they've got free access to their big index. And if you find something you like, the index looks right, you see a birth record you think is yours, you can pay €5 and get the whole detail of the whole record. So you can search for free, and if you want to cash in and really look at it all in detail, it's €5. And if that completes your search, that, of course, would be a bargain. And they've got marriage records, birth records, death records, census records, and gravestone inscriptions. And why, look at here, they got 265,000 birth records for North County Tipperary and 104 marriage records. Boy, they even got over 60,000 death records, over 60,000 census records, and 41,000 gravestone inscriptions. Boy, you would have had to take a long time going out to those gravestones and copying down what those names were. That'd have been a tough job in the rain, especially. But I think even a lot of people got involved in that, school kids and retired folks and just serious genealogical researchers. So that was a good thing that's happened over the last 20 or 30 years. Well, what are we moving on to now? Curious news and notes. Well, number one of this week's books details many facts about the Beatles in Ireland. And when they played there in Ireland in 1963, they said Paul McCartney announced that it was great to be home. And, he also got married at a castle in County Monaghan, Ireland, the second time around. And then John Lennon bought an island off the coast of County Mayo in the late 1960s. It's only the top of the social ladder that can buy an island, I think. And they also give family history ties to Ireland for the Beatles. So if you're a family researcher and thought you might sing like or look like one of those famous fellows, this might give you a way to check and see if they came from the same county or town. You can see a link on my blog for the book, and that book is The Beatles and Ireland. Number 2, Jim Houlihans has a traveling art exhibit, and his Fighting Irishman exhibit includes Irish champion Dan Donnelly's mummified arm. The arm is going to be displayed at the Ulster American Folk Park in County Tyrone until November 2009. So if you didn't get to see it here in the States, you're going to have to wait a while. And for more on that story, see 411mania.com. I've got a link on the webpage. Number 3, Minister John Gormley is phasing out traditional light bulbs in Ireland. Well, why could this be? The first step is to outlaw regular 75-watt or higher traditional light bulbs in Ireland. And all normal light bulbs are going to be outlawed by 2012. And they say that's because it will reduce Ireland's carbon emissions and greenhouse gases. They may delay that a little bit, considering all the big problems that are coming on in the world here with economics. We'll have to see. But they outlawed smoking in pubs, and everybody's just walking out the side door and smoking outside. I don't know. How could you do that with a light bulb? Might be some problems there, but there'll be a way. They'll find some way to get some good light going. And I've heard that the light bulb companies have finally joined the consortium to have this done. They must have found a way to make a few dollars on the conversion, I bet. You know how those politicians are. Number 4, 2,300 glasses of Bailey's Irish Cream are said to be drunk every minute. My, it's a worldwide thing for sure. Number 5, David Daly says he's helped 1.5 million people bend back and kiss the Blarney Stone in County Cork, Ireland. So if you've gone over there with family or friends and had a fella holding on to you while you bent back and kissed that silly rock, David is the stone attendant that helps all the tourists get the gift of eloquence. He is retiring, however, and several folks are wondering how tough the job might be. They're thinking about applying. But there's an article from that's found in the irishexaminer.com online, and it pokes a little fun at overweight Americans from Mississippi who might become, and you have to hang on to them and keep them from falling off the ledge there, and that might make it a pretty rough job. My apologies to everybody from Mississippi. I didn't write that. But I've got a link to that article on the webpage. You can compliment them or complain as you see fit. Well, I tell you, that's bringing us right up to the end of the day. It's been a good one here. Remember to send your comments by clicking the contact link on our webpage at www.irishroots.com or send by mail to our American address, the Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri 64116. Leave your message or report on things in your part of the world when you call my phone recorder at 816-256-3360. Skype me at Irish Roots Cafe. Members foot the bill, so they get first priority, but we're open to all. And by the way, a big thank you to all of our members. This is Mike OLaughlin signing off.